Hello, welcome back. As you guys know, if you watched my last YouTube video, I made the 20-hour long journey to Fort Lauderdale, Florida last weekend to pick up a new block.
What are you doing? Come on.
Oh, not this is the.
That's
isn't
not.
this the,
That's not the block.
I thought this was the block.
I mean that's a block, but that's not the block. That Sarah.
Sorry. This was the right one.
That's not the block.
Damn it. All right. But in all seriousness, I drove down to Florida a couple weekends ago to pick up the block for a 2JZ GTE VVTi. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Which is the engine that I will be swapping into the 280ZX. I know a ton of people wanted me to just keep the L28 and build it, which I 100% am going to keep the L28. I do actually want to open it up and build it, but I want this first. I do have a head on the way from Texas currently. A little bit of backstory about this engine and why I chose this engine. I finally decided 1000% that I was going to do a 2JZ about right when I put the car in storage. So right around March or April of this year. I didn't necessarily have the money for it at the time. A couple videos ago, I showed that I was saving money in an old oatmeal jar. This is what I have been saving money in. Of course, as soon as I had the money to buy the engine at the price that I had seen it, prices started skyrocketing. If you didn't know, a full GTE head, block, auto trans, which nobody cares about, but like a full setup motor right now is going for like close to 8K. Apparently there's a shortage, and apparently everybody in the world wants to 2J swap right now. So prices started skyrocketing. I saved for a certain price point and very quickly it just went way out of my price range. Then I decided that I'm actually gonna be scrapping most of the stuff that is gonna come with the stock engine. There was just so many things that I felt like I was gonna upgrade or get rid of or try to sell and probably never be able to sell. I was like, well, hey, why don't I just piece it together? So I went and picked up the block. I sourced a head, which the prices of heads doubled in a 2-week period. Shout out to Facebook Marketplace, you are clutch. I will be piecing the engine together piece by piece because prices were just absolutely ridiculous. I felt like in the long run, this was just the smarter choice for me. I'm super, super excited. I've never seen an engine before. Like, this is dope. Oh my God. Oh my God, look! Holy shit! It's an engine. It's half of an engine. There you go. I've never seen one before. Got the 2JZ. This is what I showed you guys as a teaser in the last video. It is just the block. Do have some nice pistons in there. They're all lubed up right now. This is so sick. Like, that's the engine. I bought that. It's mine. I love it. When it came to deciding on an engine, there are some things about the Z that I love and I really wanted to stay true to. So I wanted to stay true to the inline 6. The Z comes with a 2.8 inline 6. Then narrowed down my options pretty quickly. It was keep the L28, get a Ford Barra or something. I wasn't gonna do that, sorry, but anyway, RB or 2JZ were pretty much my top choices. After talking to some friends who have 2Js, some friends that have RBs, some mechanics who also work on both, I felt that in the long run, a 2JZ for me personally was going to be a better fit because I really want a reliable build. I know RBs are great engines. I think they're a little more expensive, and I think that they're a little less reliable based on the feedback that I heard. Please don't blow me up in my comment section because I don't care. My main things were power, reliability, and accessibility. I wanted to be able to find parts for an engine. I have a really hard time finding parts for the Z and it gives me the worst anxiety. I felt like this was an engine that I was going to be able to build to a couple hundred horsepower and drive it 4 hours to North Carolina and take my friends out for a ride, and like that was really, really important to me. I wanted to build something that was going to last a long time, be super reliable, easy to build more power on when I want to. I feel like in the end, the 2J was going to provide that for me better than an RB. That's just my opinion. I really feel like I'm gonna get roasted in the comments for this, but like, That's just my opinion. No, LS was never a consideration for me. I'll LS something one day because, you know, that'd be cool, but it was absolutely never even a thought in my mind for this car. I'm really, really happy I went with the 2J. I already have some really big plans for it. So like I said, this is the 2JZ GTE VVTi. That is such a mouthful. I went with the VVTi, honestly, mostly because it was easier to find. I know that, you know, there's some minor differences as far as like low end power compared to the non-VVTi. That didn't matter to me as much, I feel like. But they're easier to find than the non-VVTi, so I did want to go with GTE, even though I was going to throw the turbos away. I had a lot of people say, oh, just get a 1J, oh, just get a GE, don't get a GTE, you're going to throw the turbos away anyway. But based on what I read, I just felt like a GTE made more sense. I wanted to go the full mile and get the nicest, well, I don't want to say nicest, but what I considered to be the best JZ engine. Again, that's just my opinion off of, you know, information I found. So the GTE has oil squirters under here that I might flip over and show you guys. I might not, I don't know. And I know that the piston like compression ratio is slightly different than the GE. Basically, the compression ratio in the GTE is designed to like, like I said, I'm still learning. I can't remember exactly why, but it's supposed to be better for turbo engines. Basically, if I did the GE, I may have ended up having to change the compression ratio on the GE anyway to fit my turbo. So there's certain compression ratios that are better for turbo engines and non-turbo engines, and this one already came with that compression ratio that a lot of people on the forums were switching their GEs to anyway. So I felt like in the long run, it just made more sense. Especially because I decided I don't plan on building the block. I really, really wanted to. I sort of got talked out of it. I wanted to build it myself. I didn't want to send it off anywhere. It's a good bit of money to build yourself and then blow up, and I felt like I didn't want to risk it. There's a lot of JZ engines, 2JZ engines, making a ton of power on stock blocks. More power than I could ever imagine making, honestly. I just don't want to risk the biscuit. When I take the L28 out, I am going to risk the biscuit. I want to build that one. She's a beauty. This is just cool. Like, I honestly don't know most of what I'm looking at, but I know that says 2JZ and that's sick, so I don't care. So I feel like there's no real way to tell, but this engine is supposed to have about 40, maybe 50,000 miles on it, which I feel like is pretty good for buying a used engine. I thought this was really funny. It says Toyota or Toyota. Leviosa, not Levioso. George says we have to get a new oil pump on the motor. You mean a new one or like just one at all because there isn't one?
No, there is right here. This is your oil pump.
I'm gonna have to cut that out.
The oil filter housing. This is the cavity for one of the pumps.
Look how much I'm learning just right now. This is my oil pump? It's not doing anything.
The whole thing is silver.
It's not pumping anything.
The whole thing is silver is your oil pump.
Where's the pump? I don't see it.
The pump is in here because if you pull this seal out right here, there's gears that mesh on your crank.
Well, we're not pulling that out because that's scary.
We can pull it off right now. There's nothing in it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I said no.
Why?
Because I don't want to. No.
What's wrong with
Fucking no.
I haven't heard somebody say no in a while.
Oh, that pretty much wraps it up. Ta-da, congrats, hello. I have a 2JZ GTE VVTi. Ooh, wow, that's a mouthful. Like I said, I do have a head on the way. That's what she said. I'm super, super stoked. I don't really know what else to say. I'm just really excited. I do have to build the head once I get it. I do have to change pretty much the entire subframe of the entire car. I'm really excited to show you guys the transformation of this car over the next couple of months. Make sure you tag along. You don't want to miss this. I'm gonna gap AA run. It's gonna be sick. That's all I got. You could never. And that's it. Gang, gang. Okay, see? 3 bolts.
1 bolt.
4 bolts.
You have 1 bolt in your oil pump.
5 of them.
And then you put a flathead right here.
There's 6.
Put a flathead right here.
There's 7 bolts.
Can I pull it
There's
off?
10 bolts in there.